G'day battlers, and today we're talking about cows. Fluffy cows. How sick Aw man, really? Do we really have to talk about Mantine? Fine Mantine, we'll talk about you. G'day battlers, and yeah, today we're talking about Mantine and the Sunrise Cup. This is part 5 of my Sunrise Cup meta guide, so if you want to see the full playlist in order, you can click over there for that, and it will go through the infographic, then the flyers, anti-flyers, anti-anti-flyers, and then it'll come here. So this is the final part of the Sunrise Cup meta guide, unless there's some like massive Niantic shift in movesets or something, which, you know, it could happen, but it's probably pretty safe to assume that it's only going to come at the start of a Go Battle League season now. But yeah, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, so you can stay up to date with all of the other Sunrise Cup stuff like tournament recaps and the like, and also get a head start on the next cup whenever that may come out. So yeah, let's get into Mantine. Now, if you aren't already aware, Mantine is like a super complicated Pokemon. Like, it's got Bubble Beam and it's got Ice Beam. Bubble Beam is throwing debuffs every time it throws, and so there's a whole lot of matchups where it's like it needs to get 2 debuffs off with the Bubble Beam and then land the Ice Beam for it to like win the matchup. So it can get very complicated, but we're actually starting with the anti-flyers for the exact reason that these guys are fairly simple. So we're going to start simple and then get more complicated, which actually means we're going to end with the flyers, but yeah, we'll get to that when we get to it. And again, the timestamps in the should show up in the progress bar of the video if you want to like skip to a certain section or like come back to it later. So yeah, let's get into the anti-flyers. Up against Vigoroth, Mantine's going to be able to win in the Zero Shield just straight Ice Beam, unless it is either an attack Mantine or an attack Vigoroth. If either of those is true, then you're actually going to need to get a Bubble Beam and then throw the Ice Beam. That's just kind of how it works out. In the One Shield though, a rank 1 Mantine is going to be able to beat Vigoroth straight Bubble Beam with, 4 turns. It's not the closest thing, it just has a little bit of extra health. But if you don't have a rank 1 Mantine, then you're not going to be able to go straight Bubble Beam, and you're actually going to have to throw an Ice Beam like in there at the end. So PvP automatically does Bubble Beam, then throws an Ice Beam, then throws another Bubble Beam. Obviously in this sort of circumstance, you'd want to have 2 Bubble Beams in a row so that like these body slams are doing less damage, but then you also have to kind of consider when is your opponent going to shield. Could they maybe shield up this later Bubble Beam? Although obviously then you're getting to like 2 shield scenarios, but a lot of people are not going to shield this first Bubble Beam, especially if there's like no chance that you need the Ice Beam. So you do need to charge up to the Ice Beam and then throw, even if you're just going to throw the Bubble Beam. But yeah, this is kind of where the matchup lies. You just need to do a little bit of combo of both in the 1 shield to beat Vigoroth. But then in the 2 shield, you can just go straight Bubble Beam and Mantine will win that. And kind of similarly against Obstagoon, in the 0 shield, you can go straight Ice Beam and win. In the 1 shield, you go straight Bubble Beam and win. In the 2 shield, you go straight Bubble Beam and win. So Obstagoon is just know what move you have to keep throwing and keep throwing it. Ferrothorn is kind of the reverse. Ferrothorn is going to win no matter what, so just like, don't try. Mantine can do like, about half-ish, little less of Ferrothorn's health with like a full blast Ice Beam. So it's something to keep in mind that maybe if you have an 100 energy Mantine, going into this Ferrothorn matchup, you could maybe try and sneak some Ice Beams through, or you could, go down and throw some Bubble Beams, and then whatever your next Pokemon you bring in is maybe going to be able to farm up energy a little bit easier, just like not taking as much damage from the Ferrothorn. Yeah, it's just something to think about, and this is basically the anti-flyers done. As I said, we are starting simple, and we're going to start to... It's not going to stay that way. And we are starting that complication straight away, going into the anti-flyers with Galarian Stunfisk. So in the 0 shield, we're hopping back over to PvP, because yeah, this is the default stats matchup with Mantine versus Galarian Stunfisk. And you can see here it's winning with 2 Ice Beams, and there's 1 health remaining on Mantine with the win. So you can obviously guess that there is going to be some IVs going on here. If Mantine just doesn't have that 1 health, it's not going to survive. So straight away, I'm telling you now, attack Mantine will always lose the 0 shield. Galarian Stunfisk is always going to have it, just that's how it is. An attack Stunfisk, however, is going to be able to beat all Mantines except the high rank one. So a rank 1 Mantine is still going to be able to beat an attack-weighted Galarian Stunfisk, which is something to keep in mind. But otherwise, like, Mantine generally has the Galarian Stunfisk matchup in like other situations. But yeah, obviously even then it's still close because there was that 1 HP. So I definitely recommend that you like find your Mantine stats, plug it in here into PvP, put it up against like the, the rank 1, the attack weighted, the, maximize for overall, maximize for attack, battle against all these and see how your Mantine does and see if you might need to bait in the 0 shield. Bait? It's the 0 shield. I mean, if you're going to win. Then the 1 and the 2 shield are actually pretty simple. Straight Bubble Beam and Mantine is going to win those, both of those. Moving on to a Bomb Snow though, you're going to lose everything. There is one like super specific case where you can actually get close to winning, but still maybe not quite, which is still IV dependent. But look, if you're a Mantine, the only way that you even have a chance is if you're in this matchup, which is a default Mantine versus an attack weighted Bomb Snow. Then you're only going to be losing by 3 HP. So that's as bad as good as Mantine's going to get, really. So yeah, a Bomb Snow is definitely a pretty hard Mantine counter, and one that a lot of people are going to be using in this cup. Moving on to Swampert though, Swampert is so easy. Straight Bubble Beam and you win every shield scenario. It does get a little bit close if you try and go straight Ice Beam, only because the rank 1 Mantine is still going to lose to the rank 1 Swampert, but you know, just go straight Bubble Beam and you'll win that instead. So just do straight Bubble Beam, simple. Now Wigglytuff is going to win in every 0 shield, there's no question about it. In the 2 shield, it's generally going to win as well, but if you have an attack-weighted Wigglytuff, then Mantine is going to come out on top here. So, you know, with 2 Bubble Beam baits and then the Ice Beam to come out on top, and you've only got 1 HP. So if you have an attack-weighted Mantine, you're actually then going to lose that again. So you need a non-attack-weighted Mantine versus an attack-weighted Wigglytuff, and that is the only way you're going to come out on top in the 2 shield. So, yeah, Wigglytuff's going to win the 2 shield. In the 1 shield, though, Wigglytuff is almost always going to come out on top, but there's like, you know, 6 or 7 different ways that Mantine can come out on top. Some of them bait, some of them IVs, so we're just going to go through all of them now, and then anything else, Wigglytuff is generally going to win it. So the ways that Mantine does win is if you have a rank 1 Mantine versus a default stat Wigglytuff and go straight Bubble Beam, that's 1, or 2, you could have a default stat, a Mantine, versus basically anything if you can get 2 Bubble Beams and an Ice Beam, or you can have an attack-weighted Mantine versus an attack-weighted Wigglytuff, straight Ice Beam and you'll come out on top there. Or you can have a number 1 Mantine versus a default stat Wigglytuff, and then you need the 2 Bubble Beam, 1 Ice Beam combo. You know, obviously this one would actually be better before here, but again, you know, where's the shield, where's the whatever, so that's a win. Or you can have the rank 1 Mantine versus the rank 1 Wigglytuff, 2 Bubble Beams, Ice Beam combo. Or you can have the attack-weighted Mantine versus the attack-weighted Wigglytuff, 1 Bubble Beam, 1 Ice Beam, and you come out on top. So, yeah, it seems like I just gave you a lot of circumstances that Mantine can win, but just trust me, like any other combination of stuff, Wigglytuff's going to win. So Wigglytuff is, I'm going to put Wigglytuff as the winner in the 1 shield, even though there are all of these situations that Mantine does come out on top, just because there's too much like baits and stuff going on. But just know, if you have a certain Mantine IV combination, which again, you can check up the top in PvP Poke, then you can kind of check which of these matchups you can win and how. And now we have the flyers, and you'll notice that they are all coloured in yellow. So, oh man. So starting off with Altaria, straight away it's super IV dependent. You basically want to land an Ice Beam while also IV stuff is going on. So a default stat Mantine is actually going to win against like every Altaria straight Ice Beam, so that's something to keep in mind. But coming over to PvP Poke, if you have an attack weighted Mantine, you are going to lose this matchup, and going for Dragon Pulse too, which you don't see every day, but hey, there it is. And then also the rank 1 Mantine is going to beat the rank 1 Altaria, and also beat the attack weighted Altaria, but a default Altaria is going to beat your rank 1 Mantine. So yeah, just more things. Just check your individual IVs, because you know, not everyone is going to get the rank 1 Altaria, so I can't give you like all of the stuff the rank 1 Altaria and then you'll just know what to do unless you have that rank 1 Altaria. Like if you have a rank 85 Altaria, just check your IVs to see if you hit the certain breakpoints, bulk points, which you're actually going to get to in the 1 shield, because there is actually a point where Altaria's Dragon Breaths go from 2 damage to 3 damage. If it's doing 2 damage, you can go straight Ice Beam, but if it's doing 3 damage, then you actually, 1 Ice Beam isn't going to cut it. You're not going to get to the second Ice Beam, like only just, like you're there, but you can't throw it before Altaria takes you down, just because of that extra damage that all these Dragon Breaths are doing. So if there is a 3 Dragon Breaths going on, then you basically need to get the Bubble Beam debuff and then go for the Ice Beam. So, you know, you can't really measure how much Altaria's damage is doing. It's really hard to know. Like maybe if you got some scrim part that has 2 different Altarias that are going to be doing different damage, you can kind of just like learn like, my Mantine gets like this health if it's a 2 or it's a 3. So really hard to know, so maybe just try and go for the bubble beam bait, or you can just go straight ice beam because you are only like one quick move off getting it off, so maybe you can just try and hope to sneak a bubble through with the Mantine's little woo, woo. Yeah, maybe. But in the 2 shield, Mantine is always going to win if you get 2 bubble beam baits and then the ice beam, like, you know, no matter the IVs. But please hold while I change some sandbox things, because you can also like only go 1 bubble beam bait and then an ice beam can be shielded and you're good. It actually works as well if you throw the ice beam first and it's shielded and then throw the bubble beam, which also gets shielded. So like, it's not a hard loss at all. It's worth noting though that Altara is getting kind of close to the Sky Attack. Like, it's only 6 energy off and each Dragon Breath is doing 3 energy, so it's only 2 Dragon Breaths. You know how quick a Dragon Breath is. You could sneak in 2 of those while you're doing any of these charge moves, so... But yeah, Mantine best gets the 2 shield. Up against Skarmory though, in the 0 shield it's actually interesting. The default Mantine is going to beat the default Skarmory straight bubble beam or straight ice beam. But if the IV is like any other combo, then Skarmory actually wins. So that's kind of a combo of like Bubble doing less damage, or Air Slash doing more damage, or someone having more or less health. But like every other IV combo, Skarmory wins, so it's a weird little situation. Then in the 1 shield, Mantine can win straight Bubble Beam unless you have an attack weighted Mantine, then you're just going to lose against Skarmory. There's not much you can do. You can technically win against the rank 1 Skarmory, but don't counter it, and it's like barely anyway. It's like, you know, another 1 HP, 1 quick move kind of deal, so yeah. In the 2 shield though, Mantine is generally going to win everything straight Bubble Beam, but Skarmory has this Sky Attack like ready to go, so 1 quick move and it flips, and also if it's in a rank 1 Skarmory, then it's going to be able to beat the default stat Mantine anyway. Again, like 2 health, it's so flippy dippy, like regardless of IVs and stuff. It's really hard to nail down, but generally Mantine is going to win straight Bubble Beam. Check your IVs to make sure, but if you're in that situation and like you haven't checked IVs, go straight Bubble Beam and you'll probably come out okay, so yeah. Now Pelipper, real quick, it's actually going to win, or Mantine's going to win in the 0 shield straight Ice Beam, unless either of them is attack weighted. So if Mantine is attack weighted or Pelipper is attack weighted, then Mantine is going to lose that. And then in the 2 shield, Mantine is going to need 2 Bubble Beam baits and then the Ice Beam, and it also can't be an attack weighted Mantine because attack weighted Mantine is going to lose again. That's the 0 and the 2. The 1 shield. So this is actually really interesting, and like, don't hear the first thing and then click away thinking we've learned everything, because there's going to be a twist here. So if you just PvP poke sim it all, like every IV combo, whatever, then default Mantine is going to come out on top with 2 Bubble Beams and an Ice Beam. But if you check every single other combination, Pelipper comes out on top every time. So I kind of thought it was weird though, because if you kind of look at these matchups, Mantine's going Bubble Beam, then an Ice Beam, then a Bubble Beam, and it's like kind of only just losing. So I was like, I'm not really sure why PvP Poke is doing this. And then if you go into the sandbox mode, change the Ice Beam into a Bubble Beam, do the debuff attacks, and then you change this one into an Ice Beam, so you're just flipping the order of the Bubble Beam and the Ice Beam, then Mantine is going to come out on top now. So, and that's the case in almost every single one of these scenarios. It's like all of these, except one particular one, Mantine actually flips that to a win by just going for the 2 Bubble Beams first. So I'm not really sure why PvP Poke simulations like do that. It's kind of just a weird oddity with Bubble Beam, I guess. Like, it tries to go for the Ice Beam and then it goes, oh, we don't have energy for another Ice Beam, I guess we'll throw a Bubble Beam now instead. Not kind of thinking that if it gets the debuff off earlier, then they'll be doing less damage and Mantine could maybe get the Ice Beam off anyway. It's just a weird little thing. The attack weighted Mantine is still going to lose to the number 1 Pelipper, but everything else, Mantine wins. So yeah, keep that in mind. Don't trust the PvP Poke simulations on that one, because yeah, just go for the Bubble Beams first, then the Ice Beam, and you'll be good. But yeah, that is the deep dive on Mantine and the conclusion of the Sunrise Cup meta guide. So let me know what you think of the whole like series, if it's like worth continuing on in like the rest of the cup, see if it was good, if I can improve something here or there. So yeah, thank you for watching though. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. Actually, also I should probably say thank you to my patrons, Melissa9458, brajSF, -Ben10, or Newman, you're welcome, SqeakyNL, charizardyong, and primativedoc, the newest patron, who I do finally have this like new image for. So yeah, thank you to all of those, and thank you to SadieP for the Twitch emote, Ready44Mates for the 5 gifted subs, and Oscalicious for the sub. Actually, also to primativedoc for the sub, because I saw that like after I made the Patreon image as well. So yeah, massive shout out to him. And yeah, it looks like I'm sinking, so I will see you in the next one.